So now we've looked at how to handle MIDI clips in the arranger. Let's look at how to edit MIDI events within clips. To enter a clip, just double-click it. You can set the zoom to fit the currently selected part by pressing Zoom to Selection or the shortcut Z. So the arranger view is now switched to the No Edit view. The clip itself can still be moved and resized using this top plane. And you can even draw new parts in by holding Alternate and clicking. Here you can drag notes up and down in pitch. As well as backwards and forwards in time. Notes can be resized from either end by using the handles. Selected notes can also be nudged by holding Ctrl or Command and then using the arrow keys. And selected notes can be duplicated either by holding Ctrl or Command while dragging, or pressing Ctrl or Command plus D. And of course, any actions here can be undone with Ctrl or Command Z. The resolution that notes snap to depends on your grid setting. You can disable the grid entirely by pressing S, choose a fixed resolution, or use the new grid mode, which adapts the snap resolution to your zoom level, which you can change with the keys G and H. You can also pan around and zoom with the controls at the bottom of the arranger. Alternatively, you can use the magnifier tool by pressing Y, left-clicking to zoom in, Control or Command clicking to zoom out, or you can draw a selection around the notes that you want to view. Once zoomed in, you can then use the pan tool by pressing U, and then click and drag around the clip. And again, with grid mode activated, you'll see that as I zoom in and out, the resolution is changing accordingly. To add notes, you can either hold Alternate to temporarily switch to the pencil tool, or you can double-click with the pointer tool. Double-clicking the same note will delete it. Or if you prefer, you can use the eraser by pressing E, and then left-clicking to delete. You can also click and drag around an entire selection of notes to remove them. You can split notes by switching to the razor tool with R, and then either clicking once where you want the cut, or drawing a box to make two cuts. This also works across multiple notes. All of the tools have their own shortcuts, and the first 7 keys on your keyboard relate to each of the tools on the toolbar. Q for the pointer, W for the pencil, E for the eraser, R for the razor, T for the mute tool, although this only works on clips currently, Y for the magnifier, and U for the hand. With a note selected, the info bar at the top displays all the information about that note, such as when it starts, how long it is, and at what pitch and velocity it's being played. Position and duration can be adjusted manually in bars, beats, sixteenths, and ticks. While pitch can be adjusted in semitones, or added to or subtracted from by any whole number. As can velocity. With multiple notes selected, you can use the equal symbol on the info bar to set all notes to the same position, length, pitch, or velocity. You can also select all notes on a single key by double-clicking that key on the piano roll. Below the main note grid, you'll see that there's a lane displaying the velocity of each note. You can draw in new velocities by using the pencil, either by pressing W, or while on the pointer holding Alternate. You can draw in straight lines by holding Alternate and Control or Command. If you only want to change the velocities for selected notes, then you can hold Shift while using either the pencil or line tool. So this would be useful for drawing in a snare crescendo in a drum part, for example. Additional lanes can be added for things like mod wheel, pitch bend, sustain pedal, and so on. And you can zoom into these lanes using the magnifier. New data can then be drawn in using the pencil tool by holding alternate. Choosing a parameter in this list a second time will prompt you to delete the lane and all of its automation data. In addition to this, you can create lanes specific to parameters on that device. Every automatable control for the selected instrument is listed by name, allowing you to create automation for common things such as filter cutoffs or LFO speeds, or more specific parameters such as oscillator octave. For automatable parameters such as this, the default or resting value is indicated by this slider here. So at any point in the song where there's no automation present for that lane, the static value will be used instead. New in 10.2 is multi-lane edit, and this allows you to select multiple sequencer tracks and note lanes, and make your edits while seeing all of the other notes on those tracks. To use multi-lane edit, we'll simply select one or more clips or sequencer tracks. So in this case, I'll just draw myself in a new blank part for this bass, select both tracks, and then enter edit mode. Now you can use the arrow buttons in the track list to choose which lane is being edited. And this is really useful as you could use those ghost notes as a reference as to where to place notes on another track. Now, if for whatever reason you can't see ghost notes or multiple lanes, you just need to make sure that multi-lane is enabled at the top here. Different lanes can be selected by simply clicking on the ghosted version of the note. And of course, this works on multiple note lanes within a single sequencer track. So for instance, if I was to create a new dub lane, that would be included in the multi-lane editing. This is super useful for creating harmonies or editing two complementary instruments together, such as drums and bass. One final thing to mention is that the snap behavior in Reason's editor is a bit different than in other DAWs. Let's take this drum beat for example, where the hi-hats are slightly offset from the grid. You'll also notice that the piano roll is now displaying pad names instead of keys. So in most DAWs, clicking and dragging a note would automatically snap it to the grid, and then move it according to the selected grid resolution. In Reason, the relative distance between the note and the musical grid is maintained while you move it. So if you wanted to first correct and then move the note, you would select it, quantize with Ctrl or Command K, and then change the position. So this can be a little confusing if you're coming at this from a different DAW, but it also has benefits in that you can keep those subtle timing placements intact while moving notes to an overall musical grid. The same is also true of clips in the sequencer. If the clip itself was offset from the grid, then moving it would snap while maintaining the offset. To correct this, I would just type in an exact bar number in the info bar. And then the clip will be aligned to the grid. Again, it's slightly confusing at first, but it's worth getting to grips with. So try editing notes either on single lanes or multiple lanes, get familiar with the tool shortcuts and how to use the info bar. We'll take a short break and then look at the toolbox and sequencer tools for further MIDI editing.